Welcome to the Unforeseen Journey podcast with myself, Glenn Oliver. This show is all about providing real-world help and guidance for men embarking on what I would describe as the unforeseen journey, whether that is through separation, divorce, change of career, burnout, overwhelm, or any other event that just leaves you thinking, well, I didn't expect to be here and what do I do now? In the show, we will cover my life lessons and lessons as a coach and help you regain purpose in your life, take care of your body and your mind so you look, feel and perform at your best in every aspect of your life. Hey everyone, hope you're doing okay. So welcome to my first ever podcast. Now this is something I've thought about it for a long time. For a few reasons. First and foremost, I am someone who likes to talk at length about subjects, and in the world of Instagram and social media where everything's 60 to 90 seconds, I've really struggled, to create impact in the way that I would want. Not like I want to affect the lives of thousands of people, that would be amazing, but to significantly affect the lives of 50 to 100 people is really what my goal is with life and coaching. So it's something I've wanted to do for a while, but I've put off because like any new thing, especially if it requires you to talk at length to a camera, it's very nerve-wracking. And so here we go. And in fact, to tell you a little behind the scenes, this is my second take at this. I just recorded a version of it and was like, well, that was a bit of a mess. And then I think the universe kind of responded by going, well, what you're going to do is delete it and actually have to start again. So here we go. And so with this now, I want to make this a lot more casual and conversational, even though it's just me talking. And I hope you will get some value from what we're going to talk about today. My goal with this podcast is to share stories of my own experiences as a man and as a coach, and to hopefully help provide you with some value wherever you're at in life. The title of the show is really reflective of my own journey in life and the kind of people I like to work with and I like to help. So what is the unforeseen journey? Now this to me is really about getting to a place in life where you never thought you'd be. And what I mean by that is we grow up to kind of like get a job, settle down, XYZ. When you get to that point, everything's good, you're happily ever after, rah rah rah. And what I've found through my own experiences this last 7 years is that that is largely bullshit, or it has been for me anyway. And arriving at that supposed midpoint of success didn't give me what I wanted in life at all. And more so, I think I was always aware that life wasn't for me, because I was constantly searching and yearning and trying to find belonging and connection in everything I did in life, and I didn't find it up until kind of the events we're going to talk about today. So I don't want these podcasts to feel like they're just self-serving or a chance for me to just waffle on. I really hope you can find some of the things we talk about entertaining, but more so find it useful in terms of just feeling better in yourself and knowing that you're not alone, and there is something out there out the other side of all these experiences. So that's really the naming of the podcast and what the unforeseen journey is. And I think it's really about me helping you realize that second unforeseen journey that you're about to embark upon, that we've got to embark upon maybe together, is exciting. And there's so much growth that can happen out the other side of it. If we, accept the position we're in, surrender to it, fully own that situation, and take action. I think those three things are key. So really, that's my intention with this. Initially, for the first couple of episodes, while I get my feet with it, I'm going to be on here by myself. But I have a plan to speak to a list of people who have been really significant to me over the years, including clients and mentors and friends who I just want to have conversations with, who I want to bring out into the world and share what their views are and how they've impacted me in a really positive way. So, but the first few, I'm just going to talk about me. Not in a weird just talk about me, but hopefully in such a way that you can find some value in the story. Let me just have a sip of coffee. So if you don't know me, I will just give you an introduction into me as a person, a bit of backstory and some context. So I'm Glenn, I'm 42 years old, I'm a coach. I've been coaching for about 10 years now, but prior to coaching I had a very, very different career as a police officer. I joined Sussex Police in 2001 when I was 21. Actually got in on my 21st birthday, the 25th of May, and bloody loved it. I loved it, absolutely loved a lot of my career. I was very fortunate, especially in those early days, to work with an amazing group of people in my first kind of base, which was Brighton. I had a great time, as you can probably imagine, a young guy in his 20s working in Brighton. It was good fun, and I loved it. And then I was lucky enough to get a job working at firearms, and then made the decision to join the Metropolitan Police. I think there's a theme that's always run through my life, and it's this constant 2 to 3 year cycle of trying something different. I've never settled with anything other than coaching for longer than that, and that's why I know it's my calling, right? But prior to that realization, which we're going to talk about today, I was always kind of jumping around trying to find my place. So yeah, I was in the police for 13 years, transferred to Metropolitan Police I think in 2009, something like that, 2010, quite a while ago now. All fades, doesn't it? And worked in various places up there, and as I was going through that kind of time in the Metropolitan Police, I was probably growing a bit more unsettled. I didn't feel like I was fulfilling what I thought I wanted to get out of the job, which I think has always been to help people. That's been my mission in life. I was frustrated with the bureaucracy, as you can probably imagine. Some of the culture, which is, it's clear if you look at the news, there's some cultural stuff going on in the Metropolitan Police, but I don't want to get into that because I don't want them knocking down my door. And equally, I know and work with a lot of people who are doing that job, are absolutely grinding away, and it's super tough, and they get no recognition for what they do. But I was just at a point where I was kind of searching for something else, I guess. And about that time, I think this is probably 2011. Yeah, 2011. I think I found CrossFit. So CrossFit, if you don't know, is a kind of way of working out that is high intensity. You incorporate things like gymnastics, Olympic weightlifting, burpees, and all this kind of crazy stuff into intense workouts. But the thing that was beautiful about it, and still is, it's still beautiful, is the community side of it. And I'd never experienced that before, being a very introverted guy growing up. Didn't have a girlfriend really till I was 19 years old, and spent the whole of my teenage years in my room listening to records, just loving music. And I'd never really found something that gave me the community feel that CrossFit did. It was incredible. So I fell in love with it. This was back in 2012. As I fell in love with it, I realised that I wanted to coach it. It was just consumed me. I have a highly addictive personality. Anyone who knows me will tell you that. That's carried throughout my life, and it served me in really positive ways and really negative ways in other situations, which maybe we'll talk about in other episodes. And in fact, I'm sure we will, because there's certainly some lessons there. So became consumed by CrossFit, and that time met another coach at the gym we were going to called Dan. Immediately connected with Dan, and the thing what I loved about Dan, and still do to this day, in spite of how harsh it is sometimes, is that Dan will always tell you what he thinks, regardless of how that affects you. And I really admired that in him, because I think we live in a world where so many people don't say what they think. It was a really refreshing thing. So we connected, and we had this kind of desire, this naive desire to open our own gym. Dan was working for someone else. He was a PT, I think, and I was in the police. I had no clue what I was doing, but we sat down, I think, in August one year, and then by the December of that year, we had the keys, we had planning permission, we had finance, and we were good to go. So it happened within 4 to 5 months, which, looking back on it now, was crazy. It was the way we found the premises, etc., etc. So we had this idea to open a gym. We wanted to open it in Crawley, West Sussex, because Well, I think because Dan lived there, that was like one, and number two, there was no CrossFit gyms anywhere near around where we were, so it was like, this is a great location, and we found a premises. So anyone who owns a gym will tell you, like, trying to find a premises if you've got a small, like, micro gym is super hard. For some reason, landlords really don't want you in there. So we found somewhere, all good to go and amazing. So we started the gym, but I was still in the police, and so I was kind of juggling both. And in those early days, being honest, Dan was there like 90% of the time. I was there the other percentage of the time while I was still juggling the job. And I think looking back on it now, it's always hard, isn't it? Think, well, what was my intention with starting that? What did I want to get out of that gym? And I think for me, it was a passion. It was just this desire to do something different. And I think it was that constant searching or yearning again for trying to find what I should be doing in life, because I didn't think that I was there yet. So yeah, we opened the gym. It went really well, and I'm super lucky to still have many friends from the gym that relationships that came about from starting that, and from just having a great time. Part of that is the lesson for today, really. We had a good time. So yeah, we were juggling everything, and then what happened is really the second time in my life I've had to really surrender to life, and probably the first time I've had a clear lesson in the fact that if you surrender, the sooner you surrender, the sooner you can accept into your life, like what the lesson is, and you can move forward from that. But that took me a while. So we opened the gym, and still in the police, and the police knew about the gym, they knew about Dan, etc., etc. But what I haven't said, and what I'll say now, is that prior to meeting Dan had been accused of being involved in a crime some years ago that happened overseas in Greece before we met, etc., etc. I don't want to get into details of that again, because that will bring it up, and it's not for me to say anything about that. But my view on it was, and it still is to this day, and it's what I thought from, again, 13 years of being in the police, is that I'd met very few people who I thought were genuinely what I would say were like bad people. And don't get me wrong, there are some people out there you just think, fuck, you're just going to keep committing crime. It doesn't matter what we do. That's how you're going to operate in life. But most people, in my experience, are generally good people who do dumb things, and we're capable of doing some really nasty things as well, right? Just because we're good people, we are very close at any one point of resorting to kind of our primal instincts, I believe, and therefore we can do some crazy stuff in the heat of the moment, and it's always in the heat of the moment, isn't it? So Dan told me about this thing that he was accused of, told me his side of the story, and he told me this prior to opening the gym, and my I didn't really think of it for more than like 30 seconds. Like, well, that's in the past. It's done. That's getting sorted. He's a nice guy. I trust him. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't want to go into business with him. In fact, he was the only person I would ever have gone into business with up until that point. I'd never even considered it. So I didn't even hesitate. I was like, yeah, cool. Let's crack on. It doesn't bother me. Like, here's what it is. It's in the past. I'm judging you for the person I see in front of me. And more so, I do believe that, rightly or wrongly, whether he's guilt or no guilt, like, everyone deserves a second chance. Everyone deserves to not be defined by one moment. If they keep doing these things, then yeah, maybe that's more of a conversation to have. But as far as I was concerned, it was nothing that I needed to be concerned about, and it was all declared anyway. So the police knew about it. So we started running the gym. Good times, growing, went really well in those early days, and then something happened. So the big thing that happened was that one of the people involved in the incident with Dan those many years ago found out that Dan and I had opened a gym. They found out that I was in the police. God knows how they found this out, but they decided that wasn't acceptable in their eyes, that Dan shouldn't be associated with me, and there was some kind of crossover and it was unprofessional. And so they went to the media, they went to the police, and it was a really, really shit time, if I'm honest. Like, I was on the front cover of like the Sunday Mirror, all the local papers. I was getting like them calling me, and it was really crap because it just painted this picture that I was in kind of some way this like corrupt officer trying to do something underhand by starting this business with this like this criminal, for whatever, you know, no other words to describe it, but it was just a real unjust situation. It was unjust because I felt like, well, I hadn't done anything wrong. I felt like everyone deserves a second chance in life. And thirdly, I felt like the business we were pursuing was actually genuinely really helping improve people's lives. Like, we weren't making really any money out of it at that point, like just enough to get by. Like, we never made a lot of money from it, but I think it was just that feeling of like, well, you're saying all this stuff about me, it's so untrue. And I'm powerless to stand up. Like, you know, the organisation I work for forbade me from giving my side of the story. And in fact, this is probably the first time I've ever really spoken about it openly now. But it was really, really tough, and it drove me into my first bout of severe depression, and probably one of the most serious bouts I've had, because I didn't know what it was. I thought I could just kind of unpick it myself and get through it, and I wasn't aware, and I didn't see it coming. So it sent me down a real rabbit hole of like depression, anxiety. I had a real good period of insomnia for about a month, where I think I slept for about 3 hours. And also what happened at that time was something that I carried a lot of guilt for, which was that my dad actually had a heart attack at that same kind of time that this is going on. And I believed for a long time, wrongly, that I was responsible for that heart attack, because, you know, this stuff was being said in the news about me, and it was really hard. So fast forward, kind of, we're going through this now. Like, I was basically suspended, I was signed off sick, and for about 18 months this process dragged out of me trying to get back, you know, to clear my name, to keep managing the gym, to keep my job in the police, and to kind of like put this behind me. I went through a lot of appeals, I went through meetings. In fact, the organisation changed their mind at one point and gave me permission to run it all again. I thought, oh, that's good, let's crack on. And then, yeah, they changed their mind again. And then they basically put me in a position where I had to choose between my career in the police, you know, 13 years invested in a career that is a lot of stability and financial security and, you know, a steady paycheck, or the gym, which was in its infancy. It was just about making enough money, but, you know, a highly volatile area to work in. But I had to choose between them. It was a really crap situation, but it wasn't a hard decision, and I could not have made any other decision than to leave the police in my eyes. Like, if I had conceded to that, left the gym, closed it down, I would have been turning my back on something I was really passionate about. I would have also been making the wrong moral decision, I think. And thirdly, I'd have been giving in. It would have been the ultimate concession to what had gone on, and I wasn't willing to do that. So it's kind of like a middle finger to those people who had tried to cause all that upset. I was like, is what it is. I'll walk away from the police then if you think that's such an issue. And, you know, we made a crack of running the gym. But it was still a really traumatic time, and probably, again, the second but most impactful lesson I'd had up until that point in life, of like being out of control, feeling like you had this plan and that you've got to surrender to what the universe is putting in front of you, and the sooner you do that, the better you'll be. I've got notes here, so let me just turn my page. So about this time, as this happened, I left the police and was free of that. That was weird, not being in the job, being a normal person, for want of a better word. And I was kind of free and running the gym, and that was stressful in itself. But as again alluded to at the start of this, I made some real great connections and friendships from the gym, and that really got me through this. That really, really got me through it. So those guys who, you know, hopefully some of them will take the time to listen to this, like, they don't know, or you don't know how much you saved me at that point and gave me purpose. And so So thank you. As this was going on, kind of left the police. I lucky enough or fortunate enough to be invited away with some of the guys from the gym on a boys' holiday to Ibiza. So I'd never been on a boys' holiday. It was my first. I'd always been the kind of like introverted guy with one or two friends. I was into music growing up, I was never really like never really had a big group of guy mates. So I was like really excited for it, but nervous, and I had different expectation about what was going to be going on. Like I thought I was going to be like reading my Kindle every night. I actually took it with me. Like I thought, right, we'd just be by the pool in the evening, having a couple of drinks, reading the Kindle, going to the gym every day. I did actually go to the gym a couple of times, but that kind of waned off towards the end. But yeah, so I kind of went in, no expectation, no idea about what was going to go on. Like didn't really think I was going to enjoy the music or anything, because I was into like hip hop and Ibiza's all dance music. So we go away, and the first night we go to a club called DC10. Anyone who knows Ibiza will know that club, and I think it's Circo Loco, DC10. It just blew my mind. I'd just never seen anything like it. Like the only experience I'd had of clubbing culture in the UK was probably largely around the police and just dealing with like the worst side of what I'd say is like the town clubbing culture, like Brighton and stuff like that. It's just people going out getting pissed. Like no one's there for the music. They're just there to like pull a fight, and that was my experience of it. Everyone just gets off their face, and it's just like a nasty, toxic environment. So I was in this amazing place where everyone was just like loving life, dancing, smiling, having a great time. There was no like tension or anxiety in that moment. It was just a beautiful thing. So we're there on the first night, or first day, or first afternoon, I think it actually was. I think it was probably still light when we went in there. And someone got a round of drinks in. I remember it was like, it's crazy money, like €150 for like a few drinks. And I was like, wow, this is going to be expensive. And then also I had in my head, I was like, I just don't want to drink. Like I had never, and will never be the sort of person who enjoyed really getting drunk. Not that I would say I'm a bad drunk. There are certainly people I've met who probably shouldn't ever touch alcohol because they turn into absolute dicks. But I didn't think that was me. I just didn't like the feeling of being drunk. And I think I had so many negative experiences with it in the police that it was something I was really awkward and uncomfortable with. So we were on the dance floor, and one of the guys I was with, again, I'm going to name names for obvious reasons in this, but I was like, look, this is, I don't really drink too much when I'm, clubbing. I love this kind of music, and I might, take a pill or X, Y, Z, and I really enjoy this experience. So just let you know, I hope it doesn't bother you. That's what I'm going to do. There was no like invite. There was no like trying to entice me into anything. It was just like, oh, this is what I do. This is how it feels. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds pretty cool. And I was like kind of mulling it over, and it was like an immediate decision. It just came out of nowhere. And I was like, well, could I try some of that? And I didn't have a plan for this. I didn't know what I was letting myself in for. I just knew that I didn't want to spend the next 4 days getting drunk, because I hate getting drunk, and wasting a load of money on something I didn't want to do. So I was like, well, let's give this a go. And I wasn't in the police anymore, so I kind of, that felt like it was more of an opportunity for me, even though it's obviously illegal and I'm talking about something illegal. But anyway, I thought, fuck it, why not? And so I think I took a quarter of a pill. A pill, if you don't know, is a tablet, a small tablet. You swallow it. It contains ecstasy or MDMA. MDMA is the main compound of a pill, and there's a lot of evidence now to support the use of MDMA in treatment of depression and stuff like that. But this wasn't for that. This was in the clubbing, have a good time context. So I don't want to get on my high and mighty that I've been taking MDMA to help my depression or whatever, but it certainly did, which I'll go on to talk about. So I took this quarter pill, and as again my friends would probably laugh and joke about, is that these things affect me quite quickly, and I think about 10 or 15 minutes later my life changed in a really, really significant and profound way that I feel like I've been different ever since that moment. Again, like it's hard because I'm talking about this out loud, and if you don't know me, like, it just sounds a bit like a weird story, but
I feel like I've had two distinct lives, and the second one started from that point. Prior to that, I was very caught up on material wealth, possessions, and thought that success in life was going to be achieved through having a big house, having a load of money, having a nice car, having nice clothes, etc., etc. I was uptight, I didn't relax, and if I'm honest, I was just searching or yearning for something, for connection, and I could feel it. I was, if I looked at my life up until that point, I was jumping around from job to job to job, even in the police, trying to find something that meant something and that ticked that box and made me think, oh, this is what I should be doing. And it never came. It never came. But what happened at the point that I took that pill and that affected me was it just changed how I looked at the world and instantly gave me a clear voice in that moment of telling me this is what you should be doing. And I don't mean just taking drugs, by the way. There's coffee to kind of take a break there. So yeah, I took this pill. I'm floating around in Ibiza in the club, and it just absolutely blew my mind. And the thing that I think changed for me in that moment was I felt a connection and love to people that I'd never known had existed up until that point. And undoubtedly that was amplified because of what was in my system, but there was truth in that connection, in that love, in that feeling, in that shedding of the voice that we all have in our heads. I think that was what became clear to me. It was probably the first opportunity I'd had or felt where the voice which drives us day to day kind of took a back seat, and I felt like I was fully present as the person I'd always been in that moment, and was just capable of complete enjoyment and embodiment in that. It was just beautiful, and I just had the best time. And that trip, again, just that whole time away with those guys just changed my life forever. I came back after that. The relationship I was in ended, unfortunately, but things just happened, and I just was different from that point on. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't always all rainbows and butterflies at the other side of that. I went through a lot of stuff in the last 7 years, which I think I'll talk about in other episodes, including addiction and the business. This last year, 2022, has been absolutely disgusting, but there's been so much I've learned from all these things that I hope you can see some value in it. What was clear to me from that experience really is the lesson I want to impart on you, and that is that, firstly, that once I'd surrendered to what was going on in the universe, surrendered to the stuff in the police, made that decision to move on, found myself in this position in Ibiza I never would have been in before, took this thing I never would have taken before, and never would have had this realization. I never would have. I would have still been this uptight guy thinking that, if you have a BMW and a big house, that makes you a success. And that would have been me. And I'm so glad for the adversity I had to go through to get to the point I was able to get to. And I'm at now. So what became clear to me from that was this, right, okay, what you've been looking for is within you. And what you've been looking for is your calling. And that calling is to really genuinely help people. Up until that point, it had been really about fitness and exercise and strength, and still so much of what I do in terms of coaching is about physical activity and exercise and expression. But my call for coaching at that point became about genuine connection and really, really trying to help people navigate life in such a way that helps them figure out what matters most. And for each person that's different, but generally for me, what I like to think is that I want to open people's eyes to living another way, to finding a connection with a wealth that is not just about money, but it's about a wealth of your soul, and a wealth of what you value, and the wealth of connection and love and happiness and joy and moments, not things. And it really just changed me from that point. and it was a really special time. And from that, we came back, and I went down the road of kind of getting educated with these guys called OPEX Fitness in the US. I was really lucky to work with them for a long time, and that taught me a lot about kind of individual coaching people in terms of like habits and lifestyle and nutrition. And I think it's probably taken me this long to get to this point now, having gone through the last year, to really recognize that the kind of people I like to coach are those people who are facing this unforeseen journey, this point they didn't think they'd be at, they didn't plan for it, they've had to deal with some absolute drama, and they're now at a place where they're going, well, what's next? Do I just kind of, this is it, I've plateaued, now I just wait till I die? Or is there something further from this point? So what I want to tell you is that there is. So if you've gone through some stuff in the last year or so, I just want you to know that, you know, you may not see it now, but out the other side of this, there is such an opportunity for you to grow and to reach new heights that you never thought was possible before. And I think that's really hopefully the lesson here that you get from this. Yeah, sometimes you've got to surrender to life, and the sooner you do that, the sooner you're going to see what the universe is trying to tell you, and hopefully from that you'll find some renewed purpose and vigor for life. So that's it for today. There's a lot of other things I want to talk about that hopefully will add value. Some of these may be shorter, some of these may be longer. I want to start having conversations with certain people who have been helpful to me over the years, and who I'd really value their time to have these conversations with. But for now, for the first few episodes at least, I just want to get a feel for this and hopefully get some feedback and put this in a place that helps you in your life. If you want to have a conversation with me about coaching, or just, you know, you feel a bit lost right now and you're in this situation and you just want to have a chat, just reach out to me. We can do that. We can jump on a call. It's just a conversation. I'm clearly not a salesman based on my experience. I never have been, I never will be, but if I feel like there's a relationship that we could build that would help you navigate where you are, then I'd like to have that chat with you. That's it. If you're hearing this before Christmas, then go and have a good Christmas. If you're hearing this after Christmas, then I hope you've had a good one and you've enjoyed yourself and you've unplugged from life and you've connected with those that matter and you've had a good time. I'll catch up with you soon. Take care. Bye.